The ship was burning. Flames crawled across the metal corridor like hungry orange spiders, and smoke rolled toward him in thick, choking waves. Yet all Daniel could hear, above the alarms, above the cracking panels, above the violent rumble of a dying vessel, was her voice. A soft voice, a trembling voice, a voice that did not belong in the middle of destruction. Welcome, human. It was absurd, absolutely absurd, and yet those 3 words froze Daniel in place like a slap from the universe itself. He turned, and there she stood. A girl, no, a princess, draped in torn silver robes that shimmered even under the flickering emergency lights. Her skin glowed faintly blue like moonlight trapped under glass. Her hair, long and soft, floated weightlessly behind her as though gravity refused to bind her. But it was her eyes, those enormous, star-shaped, alien eyes, that captured him. Gold and violet, sharp and gentle all at once. Royal, terrified, beautiful. For a moment, Daniel forgot the fire. He forgot the chaos that had thrown him across galaxies. He even forgot he had crash-landed right into the most guarded star realm in known space. All he saw was her. Hi, he managed, which was not the most heroic thing he could said, but a man can only handle so much. She blinked rapidly, clutching a glowing crystal to her chest. Her slender shoulders shook. I expected a warrior, not this. She gestured awkwardly to his rumpled jumpsuit, smudged with soot, half-zipped, and decorated with a patch that read, Daniel Intern. Great first impression. But Daniel forced a shaky smile because her fear did something strange inside him. Something warm, something protective, something he had no business feeling for a royal alien stranger. I'm better after breakfast, he said, and maybe after not being set on fire. She stared at him. Then unexpectedly, like a flower blooming in the ashes, she laughed. Not loudly, not fully. Just a small, soft laugh that cracked on the edges like she hadn't laughed in a long time. The ship shuddered violently. Her smile vanished. Reality crashed back like a hammer. Daniel stumbled, bracing himself against the wall. Sparks exploded from overhead cables. The roar of the flames deepened into a monstrous growl. A metal beam above them creaked dangerously. We need to move, he shouted. But she didn't seem to hear him. Her gaze locked on the crystal in her hands, face tightening with dread. If they find us, if the palace guards reach this deck, they will take you. They will blame you. They always blame the outsider. Daniel blinked hard through the smoke. I'm starting to feel very welcomed. Our kingdom is cruel, she whispered, voice trembling like frost on glass. And you arrived on the worst night possible. He didn't know why, but he stepped toward her. Close enough to smell something faintly sweet, like starlit flowers or charged air after a storm. Close enough that the glow from her crystal painted his face in soft blue light. What's your name? He asked gently. Her lips parted. But before she could speak, a thunderous explosion ripped through the corridor. The floor rocked violently. Daniel lunged forward instinctively, grabbing her wrist. Her skin was cool, soothing even, and she looked up at him in shock, her royal eyes widening. Come on, he yelled. He pulled her as the ceiling beam finally gave way behind them, crashing down with a deafening metal shriek. Had they stayed 1 second longer, they would have been flattened like pancakes with trust issues. The princess gasped, stumbling but following him. For someone with the elegance of a cloud spirit, she ran like a startled baby deer learning its legs. Daniel tried not to laugh, tried very hard, but panic and adrenaline mix weirdly. You Earth people run strangely, she panted. I'll add it to my. You are strained. And you're glowing, we both have problems. She almost smiled again, almost. But danger loomed ahead. Soldiers' footsteps echoed through the smoke, voices sharp and cold, weapons humming. Her breath hitched. They're coming for me and now for you. Daniel didn't know this world. He didn't understand their politics. He didn't know why a princess was running in her own palace ship. But he did know one thing. He wasn't leaving her. He tightened his grip on her hand. Then let's escape together. Her eyes widened, not with fear this time, but with something fragile and hopeful. The ship groaned again, as if urging them onward. And in that moment, beneath firelight and falling debris, she whispered the very first truth of their story. My name is Lyra. Daniel swallowed hard. Nice to meet you, Princess Lyra, now let's not die. The corridor narrowed into a long, metallic spine, glowing red with emergency lights. Daniel dragged Princess Lyra forward, both stumbling over fallen panels and smoking wires. The alarms beat like a furious drum behind them, but her hand in his felt impossibly calm, cool, soft, and trembling with a fear she tried desperately to hide. She was royalty, yes, but right now she was just a girl trying not to fall apart. They reached a sealed blast door. Daniel slammed his shoulder into it. The door didn't care. It stayed shut like a stubborn refrigerator. Lyra stepped up beside him and placed her glowing crystal against the panel. The lights flickered. The lock hissed. The door slid open just enough for them to squeeze through. Daniel exhaled. Magic rocks love that. It is not magic, she murmured, stepping inside. It is a royal key. Only those born with blood right can hold it without burning. Daniel stared at her. Cool, I'll just assume I'm not allowed to hold it then. She gave a small nod. Your hands would melt. He stepped back instantly. Fantastic, no touching the sparkle rock. For the first time since they met, Lyra smiled fully. Not nervously, not half-heartedly. A real beautiful smile. It hit him harder than the explosion earlier. But the moment didn't last, because as soon as the blast door closed behind them, they found themselves inside what looked like an abandoned observation hall. The wide glass walls stretched to the stars outside, cracked but still holding. And floating beyond the window was a planet. Not Earth, not even close. A massive blue world wrapped in twin rings of shimmering ice. Storm clouds swirled like living paintings. Lightning danced in delicate spirals. Daniel's breath caught. Whoa. Lyra stepped beside him, silent. The glow of the planet reflected in her eyes, making them shine like galaxies. This is my home, she whispered. It's beautiful, Daniel said honestly. For a moment, the alarms felt far away. The danger felt distant. All Daniel saw was a girl standing in front of her world like it hurt her to look at it. But she wasn't sad because her planet was beautiful. She was sad because she thought she'd never see it again. A hard knock slammed against the door behind them. Lyra flinched. Voices echoed, muffled but angry. Open this door, princess. You are ordered to surrender the fugitive. This is treason, your grace. Daniel froze. Okay, wow, they're calling me a fugitive already. I didn't even steal anything, except maybe, air. Lyra stepped closer, panic tightening her voice. Daniel, listen, if they take you, you will not be questioned. Humans are forbidden here. They will blame you for the ship's sabotage. But I didn't sabotage anything. That is irrelevant to them. He stared at her. Why are they doing this? She looked down at the crystal in her hands. A dim pulse ran through it like a heartbeat. This is the core, she whispered. It was stolen from the palace vaults tonight. They think I took it. Daniel blinked. Did you? Her silence was answer enough. He felt his stomach drop. Lyra, why? She raised her eyes, and for the first time Daniel saw not fear, but pain. Deep, lonely pain. Because it is the only thing that can save my sister, she said, and nobody would help me, not my advisors, not my guards, not even my parents. Her voice cracked. So I ran. Before Daniel could respond, the blast door shook violently, denting inward. They're breaking through, he said. She stepped closer, voice trembling. Daniel, I am sorry. You fell into this because of me. Hey, he said softly, placing a hand on her shoulder. If I'm going to fall anywhere, I'd rather fall next to someone who tries to save the people they love. Her lips parted, shocked, soft, moved. Another slam, the door bulged. Daniel looked around desperately. Is there a way out? She pointed to the far side of the observation hall, where a narrow service tunnel dropped downward like a dark throat. "Through there," she whispered. "It leads to the lower decks." The door behind them groaned, hinges bending. Daniel grabbed her hand again. "Then that's where we go." For a heartbeat, she froze, staring at their joined hands. As if nobody had ever grabbed her like that, without fear, without hesitation, without worrying about her title. The door burst open. Guards poured in. "Run," Daniel shouted. Lyra didn't think. She ran with him, falling, stumbling, gripping his hand like it was the only true thing she had left, as they dove into the dark tunnel just as plasma bolts scorched the wall behind them. The world narrowed. Their breaths echoed. Her crystal glowed. And for the first time since her life fell apart, Princess Lyra wasn't running alone. The tunnel was dark, really dark, not the kind of dark where you trip over a sock at home. It was the kind of dark that swallowed sound, twisted shapes, and even hope if you weren't careful. Daniel's boots clanged against metal grates, echoing endlessly. Lyra's glowing crystal pulsed faintly, casting soft blue light across the walls. Daniel whispered, squinting. "Do tunnels normally smell like burnt circuits and despair?" "Only when the palace is collapsing," Lyra replied without looking back, voice tight yet somehow elegant. Her eyes, reflecting the dim glow, were wide, nervous, but not panicked. Not yet. "You humans do not smell well in smoke, by the way." He choked on a laugh. "Gee, thanks, I'll put that on my too." The corner of her lips twitched. That small reaction, a flicker of amusement amid chaos, made Daniel's chest warm. He could feel it, a little ember growing inside him that didn't belong to fear, didn't belong to adrenaline, didn't belong to panic. It belonged to her. Suddenly, the tunnel opened into a cavernous shaft. Pipes twisted along the walls like snakes. Sparks fell from overhead wires, sizzling as they hit the floor. And in the middle of the shaft, a broken hover platform, dangling above what looked like a 10-story drop into darkness. Daniel froze. Is that our exit?" Lyra didn't answer. She stepped carefully, crystal held high. "If we cross that, it will take us to the lower maintenance bay. From there, we can reach the emergency lifts." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled. "We cannot stop, not yet." Daniel swallowed hard, staring down at the chasm. "Great, falling to my death, noted on my bucket list." Lyra shot him a glare. "Do not joke, or I will have to scold a human while running for my life." He grinned. "Would you? That'd be adorable." She blinked, caught off guard, and he caught that. Just for a second, her royal composure cracked. Her eyes softened, not commanding, not fearful, but human in the sense that someone you care about lets the walls fall for a fleeting second. I will not fail," she whispered, mostly to herself. Daniel stepped closer. "You won't fail, not if I'm with you." Her gaze locked on his heart hammered. She didn't speak, she didn't smile, but in that glance he saw trust. Fragile, new, but there, enough to make him feel alive in a way he hadn't before. He grabbed her hand firmly. "Ready." She nodded. And they ran. Across the broken platform, Daniel lunged forward, catching Lyra's hand when her foot slipped. Sparks exploded around them, and she let out a startled gasp. "Daniel." "I've got you," he shouted. "Not dying today." She laughed, short, breathless, nearly hysterical, but it was a real laugh. And then she tripped. Daniel dove, catching her fully. Their bodies collided, hearts hammering, breaths mingling in the harsh blue glow of her crystal. For a terrifying, beautiful second, the world narrowed. Nothing existed except them. Daniel looked into her alien eyes, and something inside him cracked. "Lyra, I don't know how we survive this, but I don't want to let go of your hand." Her lips parted slightly. You would." He shook his head. "Not for all the stars in your sky." She blinked at him, stunned. Not speechless, not afraid, just startled. And in that moment the tunnel felt smaller, the sparks less deadly, the chaos somehow manageable. But life rarely gives a long pause. A harsh clang echoed from above, the sound of armored boots on metal grates. Guards, lots of them. "Daniel," she hissed, "we have no choice. We must split up to confuse them." He froze, split up. That sounded like the universe's worst idea. But her eyes, the golden violet pools of royal command and desperate hope, begged him to trust her. "Fine," he said, voice tight, hiding his panic. "But if I see you alone, I'm tackling a palace guard just to find you." She gave a tiny, almost imperceptible smile. "Deal, and thank you, human." Daniel watched as she slipped into a side shaft, the light of her crystal fatting. He swallowed hard, heart thundering. Alone, he had to navigate the collapsing, electrified labyrinth of a palace ship he barely understood. And yet, he couldn't stop thinking about her eyes, about that fleeting smile, about the trust she had placed in him. He muttered to himself, "Humans, we do stupid things, but at least sometimes we do them for the right person." The chase continued. Sparks flew. Metal groaned. And somewhere above the roaring alarms and gunfire, Daniel swore he could hear Lyra's voice whisper, carried by the wind of the collapsing corridors. "Do not fail, human. I am counting on you." Daniel's chest tightened, counting on him. And suddenly, for the first time since he crashed onto this alien world, he realized he would move mountains. He would outrun the universe. He would die 1,000 times if it meant keeping her alive. Because some things, some people, are worth breaking every rule of survival for. And Princess Lyra was worth everything. Daniel slipped through the dark service tunnel, heart pounding in rhythm with the alarms still echoing above. Sparks showered from broken panels, sizzling on the floor. Every step felt like walking on live wires. He had no idea where he was going, but he knew one thing: he had to survive for Lyra. Meanwhile, somewhere ahead, Princess Lyra navigated the lower tunnels with her crystal pulsing gently, guiding her steps. She was graceful, even in danger, like a dancer moving through chaos. But her breaths came in short bursts, and for the first time, she admitted to herself she was scared. Not just of the guards, not just of losing the core, but of losing him, the human who had chosen to follow her into the heart of her peril. Daniel stumbled into a wider chamber. Pipes ran along the walls like arteries, carrying steam and energy. His eyes caught the faint glow of maintenance lights ahead. He rushed forward, then froze. Lyra was there. Not far, crouched behind a console, glowing crystal in hand. She looked at him, golden violet eyes wide, chest heaving. "Daniel," she whispered, voice shaking. He grinned, breathless. "I made it. You didn't run too fast." "I might have," she admitted, "but you kept going. Why?" Daniel swallowed hard. "Because I'm stubborn, and because I think you're worth it." Her eyes softened. The golden violet gaze that had once seemed untouchable now flickered with warmth and something else. Something Daniel couldn't name but recognized instantly: connection, trust, possibility. Before he could say more, the sound of boots echoed down the tunnel. Guards, and not just one group, dozens. Lyra's grip on the crystal tightened. "We have to keep moving." Daniel glanced at her. I don't think splitting up will work this time." She hesitated, then slowly she nodded. "No, not this time." Together they moved, side by side. Every step calculated, every breath measured. The corridor narrowed, forcing them closer. And in that closeness, Daniel felt the warmth of her presence, the faint pulse of life and courage that radiated from her crystal and her very being. "You're really brave," he said quietly, almost afraid to disturb the fragile silence. Lyra shook her head, voice small. "I am running. That is not bravery. That is survival." "Running with me," he countered, "makes you brave, because I won't do this without you." She blinked, startled by the confession, and for a heartbeat neither moved. The only sounds were the hissing steam and distant alarms. Daniel felt his heart hammer. He wanted to say more, to reach out. But he stopped himself, knowing that words in this moment were fragile as glass. Then a loud crash shook the tunnel. A support beam fell ahead of them, blocking the path. Sparks flew and smoke filled the air. Lyra gasped, "We can't go back." Daniel's mind raced. He spotted a ladder descending into darkness. "Down there, it's the maintenance shaft should take us to the lower deck." She hesitated, looking down into the shadowed drop. "It's steep." "I've survived worse," he joked weakly, hopping to mask the fear that threatened to freeze him. "Come on, princess, trust me." For the first time, she smiled, a real, full smile that made the corners of Daniel's chest ache. Then, carefully, she climbed down, Crystal lighting the path. He followed, heart pounding not just from the descent, but from the closeness. Halfway down, Daniel slipped. His hand brushed hers. She froze, eyes wide. Their fingers tangled for a second, short, electric, unspoken. Daniel grinned despite the danger. See, perfect teamwork. She rolled her eyes, though her lips twitched. You are impossible, human. They reached the bottom safely. Breathing hard, Daniel whispered, You okay? Lyra nodded, Crystal pulsing softly. Yes, because you didn't let go. Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't answer because nothing he could say would capture how alive he felt right now. How much he wanted to protect her, to stay with her, to somehow make the impossible feel possible. Suddenly the alarm shifted, higher, sharper. Footsteps closed in fast. They weren't alone anymore. Daniel grinned through the tension. Ready for round 2. Lyra shook her head, but there was a spark of amusement in her eyes. You humans, always so fearless. Not fearless, he said, grabbing her hand again. Just stubbornly hopeless, but together maybe we're unstoppable. And in the shadowed maintenance shaft, with danger closing in, sparks flying, and the galaxy outside waiting, 2 hearts. One human, one royal alien, beat fiercely together. Because sometimes, even in the chaos of war, the heartbeat of courage isn't a shield or a weapon. It's someone choosing to hold your hand. And Daniel wasn't letting go. The maintenance shaft ended in a small hangar. Dust floated in the faint light, glittering like tiny stars. Daniel and Lyra paused for a moment, backs pressed against a support beam, chests heaving. The echoes of pursuit rang through the metallic halls above them. This looks safe, Daniel whispered, trying not to sound too terrified. Lyra shook her head. Safe is a word that does not exist tonight. Her eyes flicked to the glowing crystal. We have to reach the shuttle bay. Only there can we leave before he catches us. He, Daniel asked, eyebrows raised. My father's commander, Lyra said quietly. The one who never misses. Her lips pressed into a thin line. And he has every reason to think you are expendable. Daniel swallowed hard. Expendable, sounds like fun. Lyra shot him a glare, though a small twitch of a smile betrayed her worry. You do not understand. I understand enough, he said softly. I don't care if I'm expendable, I care about you. Her chest heaved. The golden violet light of her eyes seemed to pulse in time with his words. She looked away toward the hangar door leading to the outside world. The twin-ringed planet hung above, casting cold, blue light into the room. She had never wanted to leave it, not really. But tonight, survival meant moving forward, and moving forward meant leaving behind safety and certainty. Daniel reached for her hand. Come on, he said, one step at a time, together. Lyra hesitated. Then slowly she allowed her fingers to lace with his. That touch, simple, human, electric, gave Daniel a jolt of courage. She was real, alive, right there, and he would do whatever it took to keep her safe. The hangar door slid open with a groan. Beyond it, the shuttle bay glimmered, a half-finished craft waiting to fly. Sparks scattered from overhead wiring, but it was their only chance. Shuttle, Daniel shouted. Move. Lyra ran beside him, crystal glowing brighter, casting soft light on the grime and broken machinery. The moment felt unreal, like a dream or a story someone tells to keep hope alive. But the sound of pursuit shattered the illusion. Heavy boots pounded on the metal floor, and armored figures appeared at the edge of the hangar. Daniel, they are fast, Lyra warned, her voice sharp now. I'm faster when I'm with you, he shouted back. And in a moment of reckless bravery or stupidity, he grabbed her hand, sprinting toward the shuttle. They reached the platform. Daniel slammed his palm against the console. The shuttle's engines sparked to life. Lyra glanced at him, eyes wide. Hold on, he yelled, and as the engines roared, lifting them from the ground, blinding light filled the hangar. Sparks rained down. One of the pursuing guards lunged for the shuttle ramp, but it lifted just in time, and the guard tumbled helplessly into the abyss below. The shuttle shuddered violently as they climbed into the sky. Daniel grinned, breathless. We're flying, we're alive. And hey, princess, you survived a human pilot. Lyra shook her head, trying to hide the smile tugging at her lips. "This is madness," she whispered. "Absolute madness." Daniel laughed. "Yep, and yet somehow perfect." She turned to look at him properly, the shuttle rocking beneath their hands. "Daniel, you chose to come with me. You risked everything for a stranger." "I'm not a stranger," he said quickly, voice catching. "Not to me, not anymore." Her breath hitched. For a moment the engines, the alarms, the shaking shuttle, none of it mattered. Just him, and her, and the fleeting heartbeat of connection that neither could ignore. "Why do humans care so much?" she asked softly. Daniel shrugged, though his hand didn't leave hers. "Because some things, some people are worth it. Worth every danger, every rule, every falling apart starship." Her eyes shone. "You are impossible," she whispered. "Maybe," he said, grinning despite the chaos. "But I hope you're impossible too." The shuttle cleared the hangar. Outside, spun beneath them, blue storms swirling beneath its twin rings. Daniel felt the hum of the engines, the pulse of the ship beneath his feet. But more than that, he felt the heartbeat of courage, the fragile trust she had placed in him, and the electric pull of something neither of them fully understood yet. Somewhere in the vastness of space, surrounded by stars and danger, Daniel knew one truth. No matter what came next, no matter the empire, the guards, the impossible odds, he would not let go of her. And Princess Lyra, gazing out at the swirling storms of her home world, realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. She didn't want him to. The shuttle hurtled into the unknown. But in that moment, with hands clasped and hearts beating wildly, neither feared the future. Because together they were unstoppable. And the stars were theirs to chase. The shuttle cut through space like a silver arrow, engines humming a steady, determined song. Daniel sat beside Lyra, both of them pressed against the walls as the craft shook violently from turbulence caused by the planet's magnetic storms. The twin-ringed glimmered below, breathtaking and terrifying all at once. Lyra's hand still held his, and neither let go. Her fingers were small, delicate, but the grip was firm, an anchor amid chaos. "Daniel, do you understand what we've done?" she asked softly, voice trembling slightly. "I think so," he said, smiling through the shakes. "We escaped an army, the palace, and possibly broke a few interstellar laws." She gave a short laugh, more real this time. "You make it sound like a story, but it feels like my entire world is collapsing." Daniel turned toward her, catching her eye. "And yet, somehow, you're still beautiful." His words were quiet, almost a whisper, but they carried weight she could feel in her chest. Her golden violet eyes widened. "Daniel." He swallowed. "I mean it. Even when the world is falling apart around us, you shine more than the stars." For a moment, the shuttle's trembling faded from their awareness. The stars outside were nothing compared to the warmth rising between them. She had faced betrayal, danger, and the suffocating weight of duty. But here, in the small, rattling shuttle with a human who had chosen to follow her into fire, she felt something new. Hope. Then the engines lurched violently. Sparks flew across the cockpit. Daniel gritted his teeth, adjusting the controls. He muttered, eyes wide, "Not a problem, probably." Lyra grabbed his arm instinctively. "Problem, very big problem." He laughed despite the fear, shaking his head. "Nope, minor hiccup, totally safe, if you ignore the shaking, the sparks, and the small chance we explode." Her laugh was softer this time, genuine. "You are mad, human Daniel, completely mad." "And completely yours," he said, voice dropping so low it barely left his lips. Her eyes flicked to his, and in that brief silence, words weren't necessary. Sparks flew from the damaged panel, the shuttle rattled violently, and somewhere in the infinite expanse of orbit, they existed only for each other. The raged outside. Lightning-like currents crackled across the void, stretching toward them like spectral fingers. Daniel gritted his teeth, adjusting the shuttle's path. Lyra's crystal glowed fiercely, almost as if it were alive, casting dancing shadows across their faces. "I never imagined I would leave my home like this," she whispered, voice low and trembling. "I was supposed to be protected, to rule, not running through fire with a stranger who cares for me." Daniel's chest tightened. Not a stranger, he said firmly. And I do care, more than I knew I could care, more than I thought possible in, well, a week. She blinked unsteady. Weak. Okay, he said, hands tightening slightly on the controls. A couple of days, but it counts. Her lips twitched into a smile that almost broke her stoic, royal composure. You are impossible. And you're beautiful, which makes us even. The shuttle lurched again. They crashed through a veil of charged particles, lights flickering violently. Daniel's hand shot over the panel, rerouting power. Sparks flew dangerously close to Lyra's crystal. She grabbed it instinctively, shielding it from harm. Their hands brushed, and in that moment Daniel felt it, her heartbeat rapid and unsteady, mirroring his own. He leaned closer, voice barely audible above the roar. I won't let anything happen to you, Princess Lyra. I swear it. Her breath hitched. I trust you, she whispered. It wasn't just words, not empty promises of courtesy or diplomacy. It was raw, fragile, real, trust that had been earned in fire, in chaos, in danger. And Daniel felt it deep in his chest, a spark that would not die. Lightning arced dangerously close, the shuttle shaking violently. Daniel adjusted, holding her gaze. Hold on, he shouted. She gripped his hand. I am holding you, human Daniel. The storm roared around them, but inside the shuttle, something unshakable bloomed. Connection. Fear was there. Chaos was there. But so was courage, so was hope, so was something far more dangerous and exhilarating than either had ever known. Love. And as the shuttle sailed further from its orbit, Daniel and Lyra leaned close, faces inches apart, hearts racing, the outside fading into the background. For once, the universe wasn't a threat. It was a promise. A promise that no matter how impossible, how chaotic, how terrifying life became, they would face it together. And in the endless expanse of space, two hearts, one human, one royal alien, beat as one. The shuttle broke free of its atmosphere, the planet shrinking behind them like a jewel in the void. This fury faded, leaving only the cold expanse of space, scattered with glimmering stars. Daniel leaned back against the seat, his hands still warm from holding Lyra. She sat beside him, crystal glowing softly, bathing her golden-violet eyes in a gentle light. For a long moment, neither spoke. The universe stretched vast and silent, and yet it felt intimate, as if only they existed in that infinite space. I can't believe we made it, Lyra finally whispered, voice low, trembling with exhaustion and relief. Daniel gave a half-smile, half-grimace. Neither can I, but hey, look at us, alive together and possibly wanted by every soldier on. She laughed softly, a sound like sunlight breaking through clouds. You make it sound like an adventure story. Well, Daniel said, eyes meeting hers, it is an adventure story. And I don't know about you, princess, but I like being the hero who survives by sheer stubbornness and occasional luck. Lyra shook her head, her smile fading into a soft, thoughtful expression. You are reckless, dangerous, human. And yet, he said, leaning just slightly closer, I think you like it. Her eyes widened and her lips parted, but she didn't pull away. Instead, her hand moved to rest on his, thumb brushing lightly over his knuckles. The gesture was small, fragile, and yet it carried weight heavier than any palace decree. You risked everything for me, she whispered, voice trembling. A stranger, a human. I'm not a stranger, Daniel said firmly, heart thudding. And I did it because I care, about you, about your world, about. You care about me, she interrupted, voice soft, almost a whisper. Even knowing nothing, even when it could have killed you. Daniel nodded, swallowing hard. Exactly, and I would do it again, 1,000 times, every time. For the first time, Lyra let herself truly look at him, not as a human intruder, not as an outsider who had stumbled into her life, but as someone who had chosen to stay, chosen to fight, chosen to care. And in that moment, something inside her shifted. Fear, duty, expectation, they still existed, but beneath them was something stronger, warmer, unstoppable, trust. I don't know what to say, she whispered, voice trembling with emotion. You don't have to say anything, Daniel said, voice soft, eyes holding hers. Just stay with me, that's enough. Her lips curved into a small, real smile, tears glimmering at the corners of her eyes. Then I will, she said softly. I choose to stay. Daniel's chest tightened, his fingers tightened around hers. Promise. I promise, she whispered. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly. The void was cold, vast, and infinite, but inside the shuttle warmth bloomed, radiating from their joined hands, their shared courage, their unspoken words. They had survived storms, enemies, betrayal, and the collapse of a kingdom. They had risked everything, and in the crucible of danger, something unbreakable had formed. Daniel leaned just a little closer, heart thundering. You know, he said, voice trembling slightly, humans aren't supposed to survive like that. And yet, Lyra murmured, eyes sparkling, you did, because you care. And because, he added, a grin tugging at his lips despite exhaustion, I have the best co-pilot in the galaxy. Her laugh, soft and musical, echoed in the small shuttle. I will accept that for now. They sat in silence after that, letting the quiet stretch between them. No alarms, no soldiers, no collapsing corridors, just the hum of the shuttle and the slow, steady rhythm of two hearts beating together. Daniel finally whispered, voice low, almost lost in the vast expanse of space. I think I've never felt like this before, not with anyone, not on Earth, not anywhere. Lyra turned her gaze to him, golden violet eyes soft, vulnerable, and infinitely deep. Neither have I, she said, and I think I don't want to feel it with anyone else. Daniel's chest tightened. He reached for her hand again, holding it like he never wanted to let go. Then we won't, he said softly, not ever. And somewhere in the quiet of the stars, amidst the hum of engines and the glow of a distant planet, two unlikely hearts beat as one. For in the end, survival wasn't just about escaping danger. It was about finding someone to hold on to when the universe was collapsing. Someone worth everything. And Daniel, the stubborn human who had crashed into her life and stayed. And Lyra, the royal alien princess with eyes like galaxies, had found it. Together, they faced the endless night of space, and for the first time, it didn't seem so empty. Because love, courage, and hope had found a home. And the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter for them,